Hello, thank you for joining the channel. In this video, we want to talk about how to identify grammatical names and functions in WAEC and NECO English language examinations. Most questions on grammatical names and functions in WAEC and NECO examinations are usually within the levels of phrase and clause in the grammar rank scale. This is why we must have adequate knowledge of phrases and clauses in order to answer this type of questions correctly. For the sake of clarity and better understanding, I'm going to be treating phrase and clause simultaneously. I'm going to put them side by side so that we can see clearly the differences between the two. Let's begin with phrase. A phrase is a group of words which does not contain a subject and predicate. A phrase may contain a subject or a part of the predicate, but it does not usually contain both the subject and its predicate. This is because a phrase is a grammatical fragment. Let's see this example for better understanding. Example A: my beautiful new dancing shoes. My beautiful new dancing shoes. Example B: with the lady from Liberia. With the lady from Liberia. Let's begin with the first example. My beautiful new dancing shoes. If you look at this group of words very well, you will realize that it does not contain the predicate, because the predicate is the part of the sentence that contains the verb, the finite verb, the actual verb of the sentence. And if you look at this, it does not contain that. My is a possessive adjective, a determiner. Beautiful is an adjective. New is an adjective. Dancing, yes, dancing is actually a verb, but in this case, it is not functioning like a verb, so we call it a non-finite verb. In this case, dancing is functioning like an adjective as well, because it is describing shoes. And the last word in that group of words is shoes. Shoes is the main word, is the head word of the phrase, because every other word in that phrase is describing shoes. To example B: with the lady from Liberia. With is a preposition. The is an article. Lady is a noun. From is a preposition. Liberia is a noun. You can see that there is no finite verb. This group of words does not contain any element of a predicate. That's why we say that a phrase does not usually contain a subject and its predicate. Let's see another definition of a phrase for better understanding. A phrase is a group of words without a finite verb. A phrase is a group of words without a finite verb. So a phrase may contain a non-finite verb, but it does not usually contain a finite verb. See example A above. Although we have a verb dancing in example A, but it is a non-finite verb. So it means the knowledge of non-finite verb is very important in order to understand a phrase. Let's quickly talk about non-finite verb. Actually, we have different types of non-finite verb, but within the context of a phrase, I'm going to talk about just two of them, and that is the present participle, which are verbs with ing, the ing form, like singing, like dancing, like understanding, talking, racing, eating, looking. All of these verbs with ing, when they are considered in isolation or when they are used in isolation, we regard them as non-finite. The second type of non-finite that we are discussing is the past participle. You know that primarily we usually have these three levels of verb. They will say present tense, past tense, and past participle. So the last one, the past participle, that is another type of non-finite verb when they are used alone, when they are used in isolation. So examples of verb in the past participle form are driven, written, known, woven, eaten, rung, that is the past participle of ring. All of these verbs, and even some regular verbs that end in ed in their past tense and their past participle, those ones, it might be difficult to differentiate between their past tense and past participle because they both end in ed form. Those ones too, when they are in past participle and they are used in isolation, they are non-finite verbs. So why are they non-finite verbs? Now let's talk about the reason. The first reason they are called non-finite verb is because they do not show tense. These verbs, we do not always know whether they are present tense or past tense. That is the first reason. The second reason is that they also might not show number. That is, we do not know whether they are singular or plural. And the third reason is that they might not show mood. So if a verb does not show any of these three, at least one of these three, tense, number, and mood, if a verb does not show any of these, at least one of these, that verb is regarded as non-finite. If you take a look at all of these verbs we have listed, you will see that you will not know whether they are present tense or past tense. Also, you will not know whether they are singular or plural. We do not necessarily need to go to mood. If a verb does not show any of these two, that verb is a non-finite verb. Okay, we have learned non-finite verb as we have learned phrase. Let's go to clause. Under clause, we will also learn the finite verbs. Now we are on the right side of the screen. Clause. A clause is a group of words containing a subject and its predicate. A clause is a group of words containing a subject and its predicate. A clause may be independent. That is, it can stand on its own as a full sentence, like we have in example C. My beautiful new dancing shoes are expensive. My beautiful new dancing shoes are expensive. This is a clause and it is also a full sentence. We call this type of clause a main clause or an independent clause. Those are clauses that can stand alone as a full sentence. As you can see, my beautiful new dancing shoes is the subject, while are expensive is the predicate. It contains the subject and its predicate. Let's come to the second one. A clause can also be dependent. This type of clause does not make a full sentence on its own, even though it contains the subject and its predicate. Like what we have in example D. Although the lady came from Liberia. Although the lady came from Liberia. If you look at this expression, you will realize that it cannot stand on its own. Although the lady came from Liberia. But then it has its subject and predicate. The lady is the subject. Came from Liberia is the predicate. And you will ask me, what about although? Although is a subordinating conjunction. It is actually the word that renders the sentence incomplete. As we can see, even though example D has the subject and its predicate, it still does not make a complete sense. This type of clause is called the dependent or the subordinate clause. For the goal of this video, we shall be focusing on the subordinate clauses. Now that we have clarified and shown with examples that phrases do not usually contain subjects and its predicates, whereas clauses contain a subject and its predicate, let us then proceed to discuss the finite verb. We have discussed non-finite verb under phrase. Let's discuss finite verb under clause. A clause usually contains a finite verb. A verb is finite if it shows any of these three. Number one, tense. If a verb shows that it is present tense or it is past tense, that verb is finite. Example, is, it is present tense. Am, it is a present tense verb. Went, the past tense of go is a past tense verb. It shows past tense, so it is finite. Spoke is the past tense of speak. It is a finite verb because it shows tense, it shows past tense. And many other verbs that show either present tense or past tense, they are finite verbs. Also, if a verb shows number, that is, it shows whether it is a singular verb or it is a plural verb, it is a finite verb. Let's look at the verb goes. Goes, that is the singular form of go, while goes is singular, it shows a number. Go is plural. Speaks is singular, speak is plural. Dances is singular, dance is plural. Sleeps is singular, sleep is plural. Any of these verbs that show number, whether singular or plural, any of them, they are all finite verbs. And the last one is mood. If a verb shows mood, it is a finite verb. These are the modal auxiliary verbs, like can, that shows ability, may, that shows possibility or probability, shall, will, those ones show willingness or intention. Whenever a verb shows any of this mood, that verb is a finite verb. Please, I want to repeat this for better understanding. In this video, we have three parameters: tense, number, and mood. A verb does not have to show the three of them. If a verb shows just one out of the three, that verb is a finite verb. But if the verb does not show any of the three, then it is non-finite. Now, to show that clauses usually contain finite verbs, let's go back to example C and D. In example C, my beautiful new dancing shoes are expensive. Now, the verb are in this sentence is a finite verb because it is a plural verb. It shows plurality, it shows number. Because shoes is a plural noun, then we also have a plural verb, are. Also, it shows present tense. It shows present tense because it is a present verb. In example D, although the lady came from Liberia, the verb came is a finite verb because it shows past tense. It shows tense. Came is the past tense of come. For these reasons, we can see that the clauses contain finite verbs, while a phrase might contain a non-finite verb. Now that we have discussed phrases and clauses with examples, let's talk about types of phrases and types of clauses. We shall begin with noun phrase and noun clause. Let's begin from the left side of the screen. That is noun phrase. A noun phrase is a group of words without a finite verb and which has a noun as its head word and performs the function of a noun. Noun phrases usually have nouns as their head words. The head word is the main word in the phrase. Other words in the phrase are usually describing the head word. And because noun phrases behave like nouns, they can do almost everything a noun can do. And in most cases, not all the time, just like nouns, they can be replaced with pronouns. Let's see examples of noun phrases and how they are formed. Look at the first word we have, boy. Boy is not a noun phrase, it's just a noun. But let's see the next word, the boy. Now that we have added an article, article D, then we have two words, the boy. This now becomes a noun phrase because we do no longer have just one word. We now have a group of words, the boy. That is a noun phrase. We can go further to modify the noun phrase. We can still say the stubborn boy. The stubborn boy. It is still a noun phrase, even though an adjective has been added, has been put in between the two words, in between they and boy. The stubborn boy. It is a noun phrase. It does not matter whether the adjective is one, like this. We can have more than one adjective in between. It will still be a noun phrase. For example, we can say the stubborn and unserious boy. It is still a noun phrase. Let's go to the next one. The stubborn boy in the class. It is still a noun phrase. All of them are still talking about the boy. Some fierce and hungry-looking boys in my classroom. Some fierce and hungry-looking boys in my classroom. It is a noun phrase. All of these words, if you look at them thoroughly, they do not contain a verb or a finite verb. The boy is the head word, while other words are describing the boy. That is, they are modifying or qualifying the word boy. You can change the noun boy to another noun. You will still have a noun phrase. Let's go to noun clause. Noun clause is also called nominal clause. Noun clause or nominal clause. It is a group of words with a finite verb which can occupy the position of a noun or pronoun. For example, it can be in the position of the subject of a verb, the object of a verb, or a complement. Most noun clauses can be replaced with pronouns like it, he, she, or they. Most noun clauses usually begin with what, how, whether, why, who, when, whoever, which, where, etc. I know some of us had learned that most of these words usually begin relative clauses. Yes, they begin noun clauses too. Let's give some examples. Example A, whoever touches the hair of the old woman. Whoever touches the hair of the old woman. That one begins with whoever. Example B, what I have been telling you. What I have been telling you. That begins with what. Example C, that she disobeyed her father. That she disobeyed her father. Example D, when she came in. When she came in. Example E, where she cooks her meal. Where she cooks her meal. If you look at each of these examples of noun clauses, you will see that they contain the subject and the predicate. They also contain finite verbs. In order to save our time, I have put the subjects in each of them in deep blue color and the predicates in purple color. I have also underlined each of the finite verbs in these clauses. Honestly, we cannot convincingly justify that these clauses are noun clauses until we put them in sentences and they occupy noun positions. Let's do that in the next slide. Okay, noun phrases first. Example A. Now we are under noun phrases. Noun phrase. Example A. The old woman slapped the stubborn boy. The old woman slapped the stubborn boy. The stubborn boy is underlined. It is a noun phrase. When we look at the grammatical name, the G name is grammatical name. That is a noun phrase, the stubborn boy. While the grammatical function is the object of the verb slapped. If you look at the sentence, the old woman slapped the stubborn boy. Who did the old woman slap? The stubborn boy. Hence, the stubborn boy is the object. It functions as the object of the verb slapped. If you look at the sentence A very well, you will see that the subject of the sentence is also a noun phrase. If you can figure that out, it means you are really getting what we have been discussing in this video. Let's move to example B. Some ladies with extremely long hair were sent out by the lecturer. Some ladies with extremely long hair were sent out by the lecturer. Some ladies with extremely long hair is underlined and it is a noun phrase. The main word, the main noun is ladies. Every other word in that particular phrase is describing the ladies. It's describing ladies. So it is a noun phrase. It does not contain a finite verb. It does not even contain a verb in this case. So it is a noun phrase. While the function, some ladies with extremely long hair were sent out by the lecturer, then the function is the subject of the verb were sent. It is the subject. That phrase is the subject of that particular sentence. Let's come to example C. Alhaji Musa, a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has traveled abroad. Now, a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is underlined. And they ask, what is the grammatical name? Of course, it is a noun phrase. A former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is a noun phrase. The grammatical function, it functions as the appositive to Alhaji Musa. An appositive is a noun or a noun phrase that gives more information about the noun that has been first mentioned. Like in this case, it gives more information about Alhaji Musa. That's why we call it the appositive to Alhaji Musa, a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. A noun phrase. Let's come to example D. Mr. Smith is our new class teacher. Our new class teacher is underlined, and it is a noun phrase. Our new class teacher. It is a noun phrase. The main word, the head word, is the teacher. Our new class, the three words are all describing teacher. So it is a noun phrase. The function, it functions as the complement of the sentence, or as some would say, it's the subject complement. Because if we ask, who is Mr. Smith? We are going to say, our new class teacher. So, our new class teacher functions as the complement to the subject, which is Mr. Smith. That's why we say it is the subject complement. Let's come to example E. Her classmates call her the singing girl. Her classmates call her the singing girl. The singing girl is underlined. In this case, we have the verb singing in this phrase, but it is a non-finite verb. So it is still a phrase. The grammatical name is noun phrase, and the function is the object complement, because it complements the pronoun her. Who is the singing girl? Her. What is her? The object of the sentence. So that's why we call it the object complement. Let's come to the noun clause, where we'll be using the previous clauses we have mentioned in full sentences. Noun clause, or we say nominal clause. Example A. Whoever touches the hair of the old woman will be killed. Whoever touches the hair of the old woman is underlined. And if you look at this underlined group of words very well, it contains the subject and the predicate. That is one. It contains a finite verb. And so we call it noun clause. That is the grammatical name. Now for the grammatical function, it functions as the subject of the verb phrase will be killed. Will be killed. So whoever touches the hair of the old woman is a noun clause. Let's move to example B. This is what I have been telling you. This is what I have been telling you. What I have been telling you is underlined, and it is a noun clause. Then the function, it functions as the subject complement. This is what I have been telling you. What is this? What I have been telling you. If you look at it, it functions as the complement. Let me quickly tell us how we identify complement. Whenever you have a linking verb, or one of the verbs be, like is, is, like was, like am, like were, were, you are likely to have a complement and not an object. So in this case, it is a complement. It's complementing the subject. This is what I have been telling you. And remember, we said that these noun clauses can be replaced with pronouns. Do you know that we can replace that noun clause, what I have been telling you, with a pronoun? Just it. You can say, this is it. This is it. This is what I have been telling you. So it is a noun clause, and it is the subject complement in function. Let's move to example C. That she disobeyed her father is unbelievable. That she disobeyed her father is unbelievable. That she disobeyed her father is underlined, and it is a noun clause. And what is the function? It functions as the subject of the verb is. That she disobeyed her father is a noun clause. Example D. Nobody knew when she came in. Nobody knew when she came in. When she came in is underlined, and it is a noun clause by grammatical name. It contains the subject she, and it contains the predicate came in. It is a noun clause. And what is the function? It functions as the object of the verb knew. Nobody knew when she came in. It is the object of the verb knew. And then the last example on the screen, example E. Please show me where she cooks her meals. Please show me where she cooks her meals. Now we have where she cooks her meals. Where she cooks her meals is a noun clause. Then the functions as the direct object. The direct object. Me is the indirect object, whereas where she cooks her meals is the direct object of the verb show. Please show me where she cooks her meals. Let me quickly give you a clue. In a case like this, where you have a direct and indirect object, if you do not know whether the group of words is a direct or an indirect object, just write it functions as the object. Do not specify if you do not know. But if you are sure, then you can tell us whether it functions as indirect object or direct object. But if you are not sure, if you do not know, just write it functions as the object. Fine, you will get your mark. So this is the explanation with examples. Now we shall go to typical WAEC and NECO questions in passages. But I want to tell you, dealing with grammar in English is like dealing with life. In most cases, life will present you with situations that you never even think you are going to come across. That is why it is better to leave no stone unturned in the process of learning grammar. Remember, we said when we are defining phrase that it is a group of words without a finite verb, without a subject and its predicate. But then actually, it turned out that that definition is inadequate. As we will see in one of these questions that we're about to deal with, there will be a noun phrase which contains a noun clause within it. And this particular noun clause has its own subject and predicate. Okay, let's solve some model questions. Question 1. It is now fashionable to hear discussions centering on the disproportionate representation of males and females in the population. It is indeed not uncommon to hear people say that for every man there are about 2 or 3 women. So, every man can marry more than one woman. This theory is, of course, more popular among adherents who favor the seeming glamour of the polygamous way of life. The big question is, how correct is this theory and what are the facts? In this paragraph, this group of words is underlined that for every man there are about 2 or 3 women. But then we are not going to look at the underlined group of words in isolation. We are going to look at it in the sentence. It is indeed not uncommon to hear people say that for every man there are about 2 or 3 women. Now it is asked that for every man there are about 2 or 3 women. What is the grammatical name given to this expression as it is used in the passage? What is its function? I'm going to give you a few seconds. Then you might pause this video in order to buy yourself more time to answer the question on your own. In the next screen, I will give my own answer and then explain. You can then compare and contrast my answer with yours to determine whether you're right or wrong. Okay. The grammatical name is a noun clause. And let's explain. Let's go back to the sentence from the beginning of that particular sentence. It is indeed not common to hear people say that for every man there are about 2 or 3 women. If you look at it, this group of words functions as a noun clause. Remember, when I was explaining noun clauses, there are some words which I listed that usually begin noun clauses. One of them is that. And this one actually begins with that. However, we cannot bank on only the group of words beginning with that. This is because there is another type of clause, a relative clause, that also begins with that. But because this particular clause comes after the verb say, it is a noun clause. And what is the function? It functions as the object of the verb say. If they ask you, what did you hear the people say? You will respond that for every man, there are about 2 or 3 women. So it is the object of the verb say. Let's go to the second WAEC or NECO model question. Indeed, before the second term holidays, we had a classroom where students would come in and go on recess as they finish their class assignments, and also where small group discussions on project work took place. Where a student in one group talked too loudly to disturb others, he was cautioned by the group, not me. Teaching then became a pleasure, and I felt my students had matured greatly by learning to conduct themselves in a more acceptable way. Now, this group of words is underlined. A student in one group. A student in one group. Like I said, we are not going to identify the word in isolation. We are going to look at how it is used in the sentence. Now, this is the sentence. Where a student in one group talked too loudly to disturb others, he was cautioned by the group, not me. A student in one group. What is the grammatical name given to this expression as it is used in the passage? What is its function? So take your time, pause the video here, sort out the answer yourself, then I give the answer in the next screen. Okay, let's proceed to the next screen where we are going to be discussing the answer. A student in one group, the grammatical name is a noun phrase. A noun phrase. How do we know? Look at it. A student in one group, there is no finite verb. Just an article and a noun, preposition, then an adjective and another noun. No verb, no predicate. And the whole of this group of words is talking about the noun, a student, the student. Who talks too loudly? It is the student. So it is a noun phrase. And what is its function? It functions as the subject of the verb talked. A student in one group talked too loudly. Who talked? A student in one group. So it is the subject of the verb talked. That is its function. To the third module question, here is the passage. Where Giwa went in that sunny afternoon was unclear to all his classmates, as he had slipped away from the bustling cafeteria without a word. Whispers filled the air as they speculated about his sudden disappearance, some imagining he had retreated to a quiet corner to read, while others thought he might be seeking solace from the chaos of lunch hour. Where Giwa went in that sunny afternoon is underlined. What is the grammatical name as it is used in the passage, and what is its function? Take a time to study it very well. Try to find the answer to it. Then I come later to give the answer. Alright. The answer to it, where Giwa went in that sunny afternoon, as it is used in the passage, the grammatical name is a noun clause. Is a noun clause. Where Giwa went in that sunny afternoon was unclear. Now, what is the function? It functions as the subject of the verb was. The subject of the verb was. Like I said, as a noun clause, you can easily replace it with a pronoun. You can replace it with it. It was unclear to all his classmates. So it is a noun clause and it functions as the subject of the verb was. This is one of those things we have come up with. Whenever these clauses, either a noun clause or a noun phrase, whenever it comes at the beginning of a sentence, it is likely going to be functioning as the subject of the verb. Whenever it appears at the beginning of the sentence, then the chance is very high that it will be the subject. Like this one, it is the subject of the verb was. Let's go to question number 4. Throughout adolescence, from the age of 12 to 19 years, again, to 19 years, boys continue to fall victim of many ailments at a much higher degree than girls do. Besides, boys' tendency to be more adventurous, more daring, and more risk-taking expose them far more to mishaps. Some of these do reduce their representation in the population. Now, this particular group of words is underlined. Many ailments at a much higher degree. The grammatical name and the grammatical function. Can you quickly do that? Pause this video and I come in few seconds to tell us the correct answer. Okay, let's discuss the answer now. Many ailments at a much higher degree. We are not going to look at this group of words in isolation. Let's see the way it is used in the sentence. Boys continue to fall victim of, that's the preposition, many ailments at a much higher degree. Now, this is a noun phrase. Many ailments at a much higher degree. it is a noun phrase. There is no finite verb and it does not contain the subject and its predicate. So it is a noun phrase. What about the function? This is not part of the functions I gave in our examples at the beginning of this video. That is why I said that the grammar of English is like life itself. You may come across those things you did not prepare for. That is why it is good to leave no stone unturned. Now this one, because it comes after the preposition of, then it functions as the object of a preposition. Whenever a noun phrase or a noun clause comes after a preposition, it usually functions as the object of that preposition. So in this case, the function of this one is the object of the preposition of. Grammatical name, noun phrase, grammatical function, it functions as the object of the preposition of. To model question 5. The courage to fail is very cheap. Every fool can afford to fail, but it raises one above the head of cowards and never dwells to be up and struggling. The word of forbearance in the end is resounding success. And so it was for Andrew. Ever since he finished his university education, it had been success galore. The courage to fail is identified. What is the grammatical name? What is the grammatical function of the courage to fail as used in the sentence? Okay, try to answer it. I'll give you a few seconds. You may pause the video to buy yourself more time. Let's quickly find answers to the questions. The courage to fail as used in this particular sentence, the courage to fail is very cheap. The courage to fail is a noun phrase. A noun phrase. And as you can see, there is a non-finite verb in this particular phrase. To fail is a non-finite verb. It was not part of those non-finite verbs I identified at the beginning of this video. When a verb begins with to fail, to dance, to speak, to sleep, it is also a non-finite verb. And because it begins the sentence, it functions as the subject of the verb is. The function is that it functions as the subject of the verb is. The courage to fail is very cheap. Let's go to model question number 6. Many suggestions have been offered for the alleviation of the problem. Some of these suggestions are practical while others appear unrealistic, especially in the context of the present orientation in the country. However, the view being held in this write-up is that the problem of corruption can only be tackled by the application of some practical solutions. Thus, we have to start with our leaders. It is being suggested here that our leaders must learn to lead by example. The view being held in this write-up is underlined. What is the grammatical name given to this expression as used in the passage, and what is its function? The view being held in this write-up. If you look at this group of words very well, it begins with the view, an article, and a noun, which is a noun phrase. Then we now have being held in this write-up. All of this group of words together is a noun phrase. The view is actually the noun phrase. Being held in this write-up is a qualifier to the noun phrase. But then both the noun phrase and its qualifier is still a noun phrase. And look at the group of verb we have there. The verb phrase being held. It is actually non-finite because being held does not show present tense or past tense. It does not show whether it's singular or plural. So it is still a non-finite verb. Grammatical name is a noun phrase. And what is the function? It functions as the subject of the verb is. The view being held in this write-up is that. Then you can see that is the verb. It is the subject of the verb is. But then we can have something that is a little bit different. Let's go to the next screen. Now, if you have something like this, the view which is being held in this write-up, take note that we have now introduced a relative pronoun which. And a finite verb is. Is finite because it shows singularity and it shows present tense. So it is a finite verb. The view which is being held in this write-up. In this case, the view is a noun phrase. It's still a noun phrase. Which is being held in this write-up is now a clause, a relative or an adjectival clause. What is going to happen here? We have a noun phrase qualified by a clause. The view which is being held in this write-up. Are we going to say it is a phrase because we have a noun phrase, the view? Or are we going to say it is a clause because we have a clause which is being held in this write-up? Well, it is still a noun phrase. And that is because the view, which is a noun phrase, stays here. It is the subject of the sentence of the verb. Which is being held in this write-up is just a qualifier. And it is not possible for the qualifier to overwrite what is being qualified. It is not possible for that clause that is qualifying the noun phrase to overwrite the noun phrase, to override the noun phrase. Even with the clause, it is still a noun phrase. Then we are going to ask one another, while will a clause function within a phrase? In advanced grammar, we call this type of clause a rank-shifted clause. That is a clause that functions within a phrase. So the phrase altogether with the relative clause, it is still a noun phrase. Another way to look at it is to look at the phrase, the view, then to look at the clause which is being held in this write-up. Which of these two is the subject of the sentence? Is it the phrase or the clause? The answer is, it is the phrase. In fact, we can remove the whole of the clause. We can say the view is that the problem of corruption can only be tackled. Can you see? Even without the clause, you can see that the phrase is more important than the clause. For this reason, it is the phrase that overrides the clause. Hence, the phrase and the clause qualifying it all together is still a noun phrase. Let's go to the last model question for this video. The street performers had drawn a large crowd, their vibrant acts captivating the audience with acrobatics and fire breathing. Amidst the laughter and applause, a girl in a bright red jacket moved with an ease that seemed almost choreographed. How she stole the phone in the midst of the multitude of spectators still amazes me. It was as if she had vanished into thin air, her nimble fingers deftly snatching the device from an unsuspecting tourist. Now, we have this group of words identified from the paragraph. How she stole the phone in the midst of the multitude of spectators. What is the grammatical name for this expression as it is used in the passage, and what is its function? Now, let's look at this group of words in the sentence altogether as a sentence. How she stole the phone in the midst of the multitude of spectators still amazes me. At the beginning of this video, we said that a particular type of clause begins with how, with why, with that. Do we remember that? That is one. Then look at where this group of words is staying in the sentence at the beginning. So we can say this group of words is a noun clause. It is a noun clause. We said one of those things we said is that we can always replace a noun clause with a pronoun. So let's replace the whole of this underlined group of words with just a pronoun. Let's use it. How she stole the phone in the midst of the multitude of spectators still amazes me. We can remove everything and say it still amazes me. Replace everything with just the pronoun it. It still amazes me. So altogether, the whole of the underlined group of words is a noun clause. And what is the function? It functions as the subject of the verb amazes. Still is not a verb, so do not say it functions as the subject of the verb still. In this case, still is not a verb, it is an adverb. The verb is actually amazes. So it functions as the subject of the verb amazes. In fact, you can remove still. We can say How she stole the phone in the midst of the multitude of spectators amazes me. So it is the subject of the verb amazes. Ladies and gentlemen, it being a long video, but I believe after seeing the whole of this video, noun phrases and noun clauses can never be new to you anymore. In the next video, we shall be discussing adjectival phrases and adjectival clauses. Thank you for being here. Do remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Like this video, drop a nice comment. I love reading those beautiful comments of yours. Drop a nice comment on this video and I'll be glad to read them. Thank you. Bye. Hello.